Hey everyone, Dacian Miller, and we're here with another, what is this, Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. I've got podcast, I've got all kinds of things. Anyway, today is what? It's Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022, so 2/2/22. Anyway, all right, so we're going to jump into another lesson. Then, of course, on Friday, during that master's class, we're going to dive into much more deeply. But anyway, I'm going to jump right into this one because I've got a lot to cover. Okay, so a lot of you may have been exposed to something called the phases of self-defense strategy. This was something that when I was with a former teacher, Shoji Hayes, from the now Toshindo, way back then, it was the Kasumian program. Anyway, when I was coming up through that, we developed these different things. It actually started off kind of being a little bit different and just kind of progressed. But anyway, as I've further developed things to move along for everything from my students here at the dojo to my long distance training group to modifications for the corporate world for workplace violence and things like that, I've gone ahead and added two more. So what started out being like 6 phases, right? In my program, it's 8 phases. So I'm going to go through these things because one of the big problems that I see when people are training is when they think of self-defense, right? They normally just think of the fight stuff that's going on, right? As though, I don't know, Scotty from the USS Enterprise beamed their attacker down right there and then bang, everything just kind of starts, right? But not only is this not the way things happen, now, could somebody, jump out of a freaking van or, step out from a doorway and next thing you know, you're in a bear hug or, just you got blindsided or whatever? Of course, right? Of course. But from my experience, that's not the way things typically happen. Kind of like when the ground fighting guys, always try to say that all fights go to the ground, right? It's marketing, right? It's marketing, right? It fits what it is that they're trying to get to, right? Because they're good at ground fighting. All they have to do now, very ninja-like, right, is to convince everybody that all fights go to the ground. I've been getting beat up and getting into things since I was 5, 6 years old, and I was a police officer for 7 years. And somebody go to the ground? Yeah, almost all the time, somebody goes to the ground, right? Does the entire fight go to the ground? No, that's not my experience. And most of the guys that have my kind of background, my friends in the art, outside the art, and all that would agree, right? No, not all fights go to the ground. So if you buy into that, what you're doing is you're buying into the hype because that fits their agenda. The idea is we go to the ground as quickly as possible so we can do these things, right? It's as opposed to here's all the different ways that fights can happen. Here's all the ways that attacks can happen. Here's some things we can do if and when things go to the ground and we're both down there, right? Anyway, so we have to be careful with things like this, right? But there's this thing, right? It's just this, I don't know, we call it dojo syndrome in my martial arts school. Dojo syndrome is one of those things where it's not a disease, right? But it's this thing that happens, right? Where we all do things a certain way so that we can all be a part of, XYZ's mutual admiration society, right? And the reality is that if you get caught in only one way of thinking, you're kind of screwed, right? So here's this idea, right? That it's not really an idea. It's this syndrome kind of thing where everything starts, right? Like he gets into his position and then I get into my position and then bang, the whole thing, explodes and shit happens, right? But what about what led up to that point, right? Were you completely oblivious to the fact that this guy was moving in on you, right? Or that screamed at you from across the street, or I'm coming, that kind of thing, right? Or, when it's all over, right? Is it like a TV show or a movie, right? Where fight's over, either you go down or he goes down, and then everything fades to black, and then there's another scene, and these guys aren't in it, or whatever, right? Or is there stuff that comes after, right? Well, there's a butt ton of stuff that comes before that explosion of activity, and there's stuff that comes after it. And our training needs to make sure that all of this is encompassed, because if we're only training to be able to fight, you can do whatever the hell you want, right? Pick a fight school, pick an idea, get involved in a whole bunch of fights, right? Get some street cred that way, right? But if you're looking for survival and you're looking for self-protection, and you understand that fighting should be the last possible option, if for no other reason than that provides the greatest chance for something to go wrong. If you understand that, then it behooves you to have things in place that you can do to not get to that point. And see, that's not the common thing. The common thing is either I'm being attacked or I'm not being attacked. Sometimes you'll have some people give some lip service to, well, you could say this to talk your way out of it, or you could do this, or you could whatever, right? But okay, are they going to work? Are they not going to work, right? It's a good idea, but are they being practiced, right? What normally ends up happening is you get the horse in the stable kind of thing, right? You say something to the horse and the horse goes, right? There's just a whole bunch of head nodding and crap like that going on. Or people think, well, duh, of course I could do this, that. Really? But if it's not so far in subconscious, unconscious response systems, like how your foot moves from the accelerator to the brake and your hands do certain things, and you might even flip somebody over, whatever, in the micro instance, when you think an accident's going to happen when you're driving, right? Or even if you're riding a bike, right? Somebody looks like they're not going to stop at a stop sign, and your body executes dozens, if not hundreds, of micro movements that you didn't have to think about before you did them. Why? Because you've been doing that thing so often and so much that you don't have to think about it, right? It's so much in there that it just comes out, okay? And as an example of this, right, my car has to go to the collision repair shop because a tractor trailer actually like cut across into my lane and took off the front left fender forward, messed up the front of my car, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, when I saw him cutting over, right, no blinkers, no nothing, right? When I saw him cutting over, right, I hit my brakes, maneuvered my car, and avoided collision with this trailer, right? I avoided collision. But my car now, as an automatic, the shifter's on the column, like a lot of cars now, right? Shifter's on the column. Except that for lots and lots of years, I had been driving a manual, right? What most people call a stick shift, right? So it didn't affect me, or it didn't dawn on me how much that was in visceral memory, in hardwired kind of stuff, right? Until I avoided this collision, but then went to back up because the trailer was coming over, right? And so I needed to back up to create a little bit more space so this trailer could go by. And my hand and arm kept trying to move to neutral, over, and back, which is reverse in a stick shift. Okay. But on this automatic on the column, it's 2 or 3 clicks up from drive. See, what was I wired for? I was wired for something that was not going to serve me in this moment. And this is the kind of crap that goes on in training, that if we're not mindful of it, what's going to happen is you're going to think you have your shit together, you get involved in a bad situation, and your body's not going to listen to your brain, or your brain and your body are going to be doing something that's in storehouse memory, storehouse consciousness, and it's just going to throw it forward, and that's what you're going to be doing, not the thing that, when you're sitting around the dojo, or you're sitting around the coffee table or whatever, and you're telling all your friends how you're going to like solve the problems of the world, or you're going to kick somebody's ass this way or that way, or really, okay? It's a huge difference between what's wired in these different things, okay? And our training needs to make sure that what goes in and we own, right, at a subconscious body level, right? It's wired in the muscle memory. What's in there is what we want to come out in an actual situation, not what we think we're going to do, not what we think should come out, okay? And it takes hours and hours and hours to get these things into muscle memory. And most people, 80% or better. Talk a good show. And I'm not talking about the people that don't even bother training. I'm talking about the people that are actually training, right? They either do the same shit over and over and over again that's not connected, or as we'll be doing this Friday's virtual class, right? We're going to take a look at how just static training, right? and we're only going to focus on Kamai because I only have like 60 to 75 minutes to get this lesson across. But I'm going to take a look at how that kind of training is just not the way things are going to work, right? And so here's this preemptive kind of thing, right? So anyway, need to stop talking. We're going to jump into this because I need to show it to you a couple of different ways, right? So 8 phases of effective self-defense strategy is not just how we're going to be operating, right? Here's this framework, right? So we can know where we are and what we need to be doing in any given moment, right? But it should also serve as a training model. You need to make sure you've got shit in each one, or you got a hole in your training. Okay, it's kind of like putting up pillars to support the roof of a gazebo or a pagoda, whatever you want to call it, right? If you need at least 4 for the 4 corners, right? In this case, we've got 8, right? But if you're missing one, depending on where it is, you're probably okay as long as the wind or whatever doesn't push things in that direction, right? But the more you're missing, and for a lot of people, they train as though only one of these phases, right, is there. And that's like having a freaking umbrella, except you're holding all this stuff that could possibly happen, and anything, right, that shakes the model can cause shit to fall apart, right? And if it doesn't, well, then assume that you're just freaking lucky, right? Okay. Everybody wants to be the baddest guy on the block and whatnot. There you go, right? So, but anyway, let's take a look at this, right? We're going to take a look at this a couple of different ways. So, first way, all kinds of messed up stuff here, right? So, 8 phases. Right? I'm not writing all this stuff out because I don't have enough room. 8 phases of effective self-defense strategy. Write that part down, right? So, phase 1, general awareness. And again, you may have gotten up to about 6 of these things if you, connected with somebody else, right? Because again, the first 6 came from when I was working with Shoshi Hayes in the Kasumian program, fresh out of like 1980 forward, right? Until this other stuff got changed and all that, right? But general awareness, right? I'm going to go through it quickly, and then we're going to come back and visit it, right? So number 2, right, is situational awareness, right? Situational, right? I apologize for crap handwriting. My mom always said I should be a doctor because of my handwriting. And I get it. Doctors used to write scripts and nobody could freaking understand them and stuff like that. But I had to ask my mom, what the hell does my handwriting have to do with my ability to save people's lives? Okay. Anyway, so situational awareness. Don't confuse these two. They're very, very different. When most people talk about awareness and stuff like that, they're talking about this, right? Let's keep moving, right? Next one is escaping to safety. Number 4, right, is distraction tactics. Distraction tactics. This board is just shaking all over the place. Let me move over here so we can stabilize it. Number 5 is dissuasion tactics. I know I'm using all big words on you and stuff today, right? Dissuasion tactics. Number 6 is where most people want to hang out, right? It's over here, dissuasion. This is physical self-defense, right? Number 7 is PTSD recovery. Okay? Self-defense is not limited to just dealing with this individual, right? Number 8 is defending. Right? This is legal recovery, we'll call it, right? But this is defending against the legal system, okay? You know that thing's supposed to be in place to protect us against bad guys, okay? So if we look at this thing, right, what we're really looking at is the fact that there are 3 attackers in any given fight or any given attack. There's 3 attackers, right? There's the physical attacker or attackers, right, that caused this whole thing that I had to physically defend against or whatever I was doing, right? Okay. There's me, my own system. Don't ever, ever, ever forget or discount or overlook or minimize all of the programming and training we've had from childhood up. Things like nice people don't hurt other nice people. And, all those kind of things, right? That can actually backfire on us when we actually have to successfully defend ourselves and then end up dealing with shame, guilt, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, PTSD, right? Where you can't function, you can't get back where you need to be. And even if you can, there's still all this shit going on in your head. Just because it doesn't come out doesn't mean it's not affecting your ability to get things done, okay? And then the last one is maybe you have to defend against the legal system, right? That needs to be worked into your training as well, making sure that you're staying within the self-defense paradigm, making sure that you can articulate both on the scene when making a statement, verbal or written, all the way to potentially going to court, that you articulate in a very clear, concise way that what you did was the minimum necessary to protect yourself, right? Oh, and by the way, the video cameras that are always on, people shooting shit with their cameras, or the ATM cameras or whatever that are always going on, and now our surveillance societies, right? But they don't produce evidence that call bullshit on your story, right? So all this stuff's really, really important. Anyway, we'll cover that in some other class, right? But in this case, very, very quickly, I want to run down through these, okay? So general awareness, right? It starts with the fact that I understand that there's danger in the world, right? There's dangerous people. They're looking for targets. There's all kinds of crap going on, right? And this isn't limited to just human attackers, right? It could be wild animals. It could be natural catastrophes, weather incidents, whatever, right? So it's that it exists in the world, and it can touch me or someone I care about or someone I choose to step in and help protect, right? But it also goes down through, what are these things? What could they be? In my world, what could this stuff look like? Not possibilities. I mean, we can start with possibilities, but I believe in beginning your training where the probabilities are. Okay. In the West, it's more probable if somebody's going to be trying to pummel me, that they're going to be coming at me with jabs and hook punches, right? Uppercuts, right? Or shoves, those kind of things, right? Taekwondo kind of kicking. Why? Well, because if the guy's been to at least a few classes or watched any TV shows or movies, he's probably out there practicing those kind of kicks, right? So what's the most likelihood, right? We can work on, more rare possibilities later, but we need to start. But what are these things? Because if your training doesn't cover them early on, then what? You're waiting until the lesson happens to pop out that you might be able to do it, or you're so freaking intuitive that you can take whatever system, style, or program or whatever you're doing, and you're able to convert that for the reality of stuff out there, okay? One of these realities, again, focusing on our kami, we're going to be doing this Friday in the master class, and I'll talk about that at the end of things. But anyway, right? So general awareness, right? And then situational awareness, right? In all the classes I've ever been in, what teachers normally said was, the more you pay attention, the sooner you can see danger occurring, and then you can take action, right? You can move down the line here, or you can, you can prep or whatever, right? So, okay, great. I'm supposed to pay attention, but what the hell am I supposed to look for? What are key indicators based on facial microexpression, body language cues, word patterns, or the way the human being talks, or things start to break up like this, right? Because they're switching from calm, relaxed, no adrenal response, nothing like that, right? And everything's nice and fluid and flowing and all that. And the system starts making changes and starts hunkering down to become physical, even if they haven't shown you a balled up fist. What are those things, right? What are some indicators that, I'm in a room and somebody's potential trouble, those kind of things, right? We go into that a lot in a video that I was contracted to produce right after the 9/11 attacks. It's called Danger Prevention Tactics, Protecting Yourself Like a Pro, right? We have that on the website. It was on Amazon, but at the moment it's not available, and we're checking into why. But anyway, so we go through these things, right? So, but what are they, right? How? What am I paying attention to, right? What are cues that will trigger things? And how do I make sure that, based on training, how do I make sure that I'm actually looking at something that's potential danger or potentially escalating danger in my direction, or it's not just a paranoid response because I'm being hyper vigilant and I'm trying to walk around the world looking like a freaking pigeon looking for anything, right? So important stuff, right? Okay, so let's say that I do recognize that something's occurring, okay? Then phase 3 is escaping to safety, right? How the hell do I get out of here, okay? Have I already established escape routes, or am I going to be looking around trying to make it up on the fly, okay? Do I have these different things, right? Somebody's following me, right? Do I have alternate routes that I can call somebody at home and go, hey, I normally, when I left work, I said I was taking route A, but there's a detour, there's a whatever, I'm going to take route B, or I think somebody might be following me, I'm going to go over in this direction, right? So if you don't show up at home, 3 hours later when they call the police, they're not just looking for you anywhere, they have a place to start, right? Or whatever, right? But this is the realm of the tactician. This is the realm of the strategist, okay? Not just the freaking knock around thug caveman that just wants to be the top dog. Yeah, well, you know what? In today's world, the top dog can get shot in the face from across the street, okay? So as ninja, we have to be careful that we're not walking around looking like that, because if you look like you're too big of a threat and somebody still wants to take you, it's just too easy to shoot you or sneak up behind you and stab you in the back. And that's why we have 5th Dan and above training that starts with that whole detection of danger, right? Most people just want to pass the 5th Dan test so they can become a 5th Dan, okay? It's a Saki test. Really, I've watched lots of people luck out passing the Saki test. So it is what it is. When you're given 2 chances every class for as many classes as you're still going to be in Japan until you freaking pass it, really, you're going to confuse that with actually being able to detect danger. And then you're going to continue to work on that to refine it, moving down the line. Really? Really? You see that as a skill set that now that was the entry point. Anyway, it's a whole other class. All right. So escape to safety, right? Okay. So what if I can't? What if I can't escape to safety, right? People want to assume that we're going to jump straight to physical self-defense. Okay, but there's still things that we could do, right? So this guy's moving toward me, right? I could use distraction tactics. At this level, I am not acknowledging to this person that I have any idea about what they're trying to do, right? I could use humor. I could use, again, distraction or whatever. I could, as they're starting to move in, I could go, shit. And that could be the reason I took off instead of looking at them, having this look of terror, and then going to book where they now see it's all different than me going, hold on a second, and head off, grab the phone, whatever, right? So, but I'm not acknowledging that I know what this guy's up to, okay? Dissuasion tactics, right? So if this doesn't work and they're still coming in, I still got this one point just before, and this is where people start to, do the lip service in classes and stuff, right? Take up their kamae or their stance or whatever they're doing, right? Look the guy in the eye and say, I don't want to fight, man. Just back off. I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight. Okay. Well, that's supposed to be dissuasion. Okay. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Okay. Maybe what I need to look at him and say is, you may win today, but you're going to remember me for the rest of your damn life. Okay. You better be willing to go as far as I am, right? And I'm willing to die. If you cross this, I understand that I could die, but I'm going to take you with me. Okay. So the whole idea here is to get this person. Now I'm acknowledging I know. Now I'm acknowledging I know what you're up to. I may lose, but I'm not going without a fight. Okay. So this is that last chance to not let things happen, right? For him to change his mind. Okay. Phases 4 and 5 collectively are what we call de-escalation. Okay, de-escalation tactics, both of them. Okay, so what we're trying to do, right? I tried to escape. Okay, I'm paying attention to the world. Spidey senses are going on, right? I try to escape. If I can get out, freaking fantastic, right? If I can't, I want to do things that can gear it back down, make things go away, right? Here's $5, man. Buy yourself a beer. I don't want any trouble. Okay, that kind of stuff, right? If I can see it farther away, right? Got my wife out with me or whatever, check please. Okay, there's all kinds of little things, right? Not going into a lot of them this time, But you can think about how you might do this, right? If I'm in an area where it looks like somebody's hot and just looking for a target, right? On my way out, I'm going to walk behind people so that he's not making direct, I'm not in his view, right? I'm going to pass behind somebody else. As a ninja, I'm already going to be paying attention to who's already drunk in the world and who's already the loudmouth and all that. I'm going to walk behind him. So now the guy that's looking to fight somebody can light on the guy who's going to be fun or whatever, right? Everybody assumes that because we've got this, right, we're going to be first to jump in there. No, this means we should be smart enough to not get in one that we can't win, or not get in one that we can't win all the way to here. Okay, and I'm tired of hearing the rhetoric, right? I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. Bullshit, right? You have no idea how trial science works, and now you have to control and convince, or put your life in the hands of some attorney that's going to convince 12 separate minds instead of the fewer that you could control along the way. Okay? And either way, if you lose against the 12 or you're carried by 6, right? You know that rhetoric, right? Take care of my family and protect them. Somebody comes at my, really? Okay? You can't protect them from prison. Okay? Can't protect people from prison or the morgue. Never forget that. Okay? Anyway, so dissuasion. If this stuff doesn't work, then I have no choice. Well, everybody has a choice, right? You can lay the hell down and die, or, pretend you didn't do all this extra training because now you're terrified and pissing in your pants and stuff like that. But either way, right? You don't have no choice. You have to physically handle whatever, right? And do it until it doesn't matter anymore. Either you can't function, or they don't function, or they're not coming at you, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean the fight doesn't last, because there's a branch off on this, okay? There's a branch off on this, and that's why in the later levels, my third dan's going to fourth dan, and fourth dans and above have to make all their techniques look like accidents. Not just for the video cameras, but for this guy as well. He cannot know that you kicked his ass. He has to think that it was his mistakes that caused it. This is ninjutsu, damn it. Okay? So if this is not you, then stop saying you're doing ninjutsu and go do some other warrior art or some other badass art, because you need to be the guy. But the branch off on this, right? It's not PTSD recovery. Okay? It's revenge, watch your ass for the rest of your life recovery. Okay? We have to worry about defending against revenge. So how do you do that? Well, you defend yourself in a way that he thinks that if he wouldn't have made that mistake, whatever, right? Or you're able to defend and escape, and things happen quickly enough that in that flurry, nobody can identify you. It's not just about the police identifying you, it's also about his friends and fellow thugs. See, people don't think big enough. It's like when I'm teaching people or I'm covering these lessons and stuff, and people post things, online or whatever, they're yeah buts. Their yeah buts are the same as me dealing with a teenager. He's got a couple of answers for what they think goes on in the world. The problem is they can't think big enough, right? And then they just make up a bunch of freaking theories, hoping it's all going to work out. Anyway, all right, so physical self-defense, right? Win, lose, draw, doesn't matter, right? I have to worry about recovering from my own system failure, my own system glitches, right? Going off, right? Where, I can't just jump right back to work, right? Or emotionally, I'm desensitized, and now I can't even deal with my family, and now they're being ostracized, or they're being attacked because I'm still in anger mode, or whatever, right? Okay. Or I end up getting myself fired because I can't go to work, or when I do go to work, I'm an asshole, or whatever, because all this stuff is just blowing me away, right? So all kinds of things that can be occurring, right, as a part of this, right? This has to be worked on long before you get to that point. Long before you get to that point. This has everything to do with mindset, as well as rebalancing the physical system, right? Oh, there's all kinds of things in here, okay? And then phase 8, defending against the legal system. This is everything from how do you respond and speak on the scene and know it's not, I want a lawyer right away, because every cop that hears that, I'm an ex-cop, every cop that hears that, the first assumption is you got something to hide, right? you save that for when they start pushing you and pressing and pressing and pressing, and you feel like you're boxed into a corner, that your story, they're not going to believe it no matter what, or they're trying to twist it so that you're the bad guy, right? That's when you go, no. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I want my lawyer. Okay, but if you jump to it too soon, there's all kinds of things with timing. And again, this has to do with our ninja no uge, influence, deception, manipulation. I'm not talking about deception here, right? I'm talking about how do I control and describe what went on in a way that without saying, what I did was the minimum necessary to effect defense, okay? But it implies that, right? How do I present it? What vocal tonalities? How should my words come out? What body language should I be showing on the scene? Right? Way too many people walk around on the scene going, "I've been training all my life to make sure people like this don't do things, and nobody's going to come at me. I'll put their ass down." And then you end up going to court, and then you sit there looking all remorseful. Guess what? That doesn't work. Okay? Everybody on the jury, everybody in that courtroom, judge included, expects that you're going to look remorseful when you're sitting there in that defendant's table because you're trying to save your own ass. Remorse needs to go on the scene. See, it's counterintuitive. And unless you understand psychology, it's not going to work. Anyway, all right, so I'm not going to beat this into a dead horse. I need for you to get this. So I'm gonna do this a little bit differently, right? So we're going to put my eraser, okay? This, it's the exact same thing. I'm just going to lay it out differently because when it's laid out like this, it looks like steps, and it is, but we're talking about phases. Okay, what phase of the attack am I in? I know I just stepped out of frame and shift this a little bit so my beautiful face is back in here. Anyway, all right, so I don't care what your comments are either. So anyway, right, so here's how I want you to see this, right? A couple of sessions ago, we talked about, I think, and if we didn't, we will be talking about them again coming up, right? But there's this timeline. We call it the 5 Ds, right? 5 phases of effective self-defense, okay? If you've learned those from me, right, they belong at phase 6. Each one of these phases has a whole set of lessons and skills that have to go in there, okay? So what I want you to think about is a timeline, okay? You need to think about a timeline, right? So just off the timeline right here is number 1, okay? What's number 1? Number 1 is general awareness, okay? General awareness is accepting that it exists and it could come at me or somebody that I care about, and I'm going to have to deal with that, right? This is what gets us involved in martial arts and self-defense training. So I'm singing to the choir when it comes to this stuff because you guys are probably sitting there going, duh, right? I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't know that danger existed. Okay, great. What types? And does your training cover those types? Does your training mirror what you know will probably come at you based on where you live? Okay? So here's what I want you to see with this, right? This timeline is also a threat level timeline, okay? A threat level timeline. See, I stopped this just before I got to here. You're in the dojo training. You're at home reading. You're watching training videos, all that kind of stuff, right? You're watching this thing. There's no threat. And if there is, what the hell are you sitting here watching this for when you should be ducking punches, okay? So there's no stress. There's nothing, okay? You can do what you want. You can train any way you want. You can... whatever, right? There's nothing coming at you. The adrenal response is not kicked in, nothing, right? This is just general overall awareness, but it starts the planning phase, and it actually controls not just the planning, but the actual training itself, okay? So if you only give a little bit of attention to any of these things, or if this is just a neat little exercise in, I don't know, distraction from you're supposed to be working, or you just want to hear what I had to say today because you're just fucking curious, or excuse my language, maybe YouTube just bleep me. Anyway, so if that's it, then you take it, you get what you get, right? in computer programming, which I'm not, but I have plenty of friends that do it, right? There's this phrase called GIGO, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out. Know that whatever you do in the dojo or in your self-defense training class or whatever, you're programming the subconscious storehouse, right? Whatever you put in is what's going to come out, and it's going to come out the way you put it in. Okay? All right, so next, situational awareness, right? Okay? Still no stress, still no problems, right? We're just going to be watching our world. We're just going to be aware of our surroundings, those kind of things, right? We've already trained or programmed ourselves as to what we should be looking for, okay? So if something pops up on that, I'll give you an example, right? For situational awareness, one of the first things that everybody should learn how to do is establish a baseline for the environment that they're in. Okay? Otherwise, they're just looking for shit, right? Or they're looking for trouble. And be careful, because if you're looking around or whatever, right? Okay. My wife will often see me in this phase and she'll go, cop eyes, right? I've been a cop for a long, long time. It's not cop eyes. Cops do it, right? But so do sentries, so do, right, security professionals or whatever. We're scanning the horizon and we're just watching what's going on, right? Bodyguards, right? I can't tell you how many times when came off of bodyguard duty or people found out that I did that, they'd go, how much do you make? To just stand around. Shit, pay me that to just stand around. They have no idea how exhausted you are at the end of a day because you were hypervigilant, right? But this is not about hypervigilance. 99.99999% of my day is going to be nothing, right? But I establish a baseline. What that means is, what's normal here? Okay, so nothing pings my radar or anything like that unless somebody comes in outside of that bench line or that baseline, right? So if it's August, right here in August, it's freaking 105 whatever, right? Okay, that's Fahrenheit, right? So people are in freaking t-shirts, or I typically wear a golf shirt, shorts, maybe jeans, sneakers, boots, whatever. There's a norm for where I live, right? But somebody walks in with big old combat boots and a big old heavy trench coat and stuff like that, whoa, no, okay? So that doesn't mean I go, right? That just means that he's now on my radar and I'm gonna keep an eye on this person to see what's up. Because he may go sit down with a bunch of other people that are dressed kind of goth-like or whatever, that's just their normal and whatnot. Okay, great, but I'll keep an eye on him, right? I'm gonna enjoy my meal, but I'm gonna keep an eye on him. So if something occurs, right? Just like if somebody's yelling and screaming or somebody gets a little loud or a little rowdy or whatever, right? They're now on my radar, right? Okay. Unless I'm in a shit kicker, Bubba redneck bar or whatever, and everybody's hooping and hollering. Now I'm going to watch for the guy that's sitting in a corner just kind of staring. Okay. So what's the baseline, right? And that's just a place to start. Every one of these has other things, right? Has a whole curriculum of training. Right? It's not just lip service. It's not just talking a good show. Nobody gives a shit, right? Least of all the bad guy. Bad guy hopes you're talking shit, and the bad guy hopes that you don't know your stuff. Okay? And most of these hardened ones will look right here. I don't want to go to Japan. I don't care what rank they are. Okay? The higher the better, right? Not better in skill. I don't make those assumptions, right? I look at people's eyes. Okay? I look at their eyes when they're interacting with somebody who's new and different, whether it's me or somebody else. Okay? When they're interacting with Hatsumi Sensei. Okay? Because I can see anybody that's ever been there, you know what I mean, been there, can look at somebody and know whether or not they have a violent bone in their body, or whether or not they should be freaking thankful that they got involved in a martial art or a program where they can get a high rank, but they're going to shit themselves and cave when something happens. Okay? You can only bullshit so far, but when the rubber hits the road, you either do or you don't. And even if you do, it can still not work out, which is why we don't want to get to phase 6, right? So something pops up on my radar, right? If I'm smart, I'm getting out of there, right? I don't need to test my skills. I don't need to show my skills. Okay? If we're ninja, we shouldn't be wanting to show our skills in public anyway. Okay? I get it doing demos and things like that at parks to maybe get some people into your dojo, but the stuff that we show, is more classical, or it's big and neat looking and stuff like that. It's not the stuff that I'm going to use against really bad people, right? I want to leave some doubt in people's minds. Does he? Doesn't he? But I don't want it to be so outlandish that the guys with chips on their shoulders want to come at me, right? But I also it can't be so weak looking, right? Or unbelievable that people that are beginners with low levels of self-confidence that they need to beef that kind of stuff up would never even give me a call or even walk up to me. So there's a balance, right? But either way, this requires the development of escape plans, being able to assess an area. As soon as you walk in, you can find potential entry, exit points. You can in your head develop escape routes depending on where you happen to be in that room, right? This is a part that was developed for me out of bodyguard training, but it's not just talking, right? How do you do that, right? How do you do that, right? Okay, so if I can escape, great. I'm out of there, right? Okay, but this is where it kind of comes in, right? My training prepares me, tells me what I should be looking for and all that. Something pops up. As soon as it hits, I'm out of there, right? But if I couldn't, either because it's already moving in too fast, or because this person is doing things and I'm the only one in the room that can step in and make this go away. Okay, so that's why we have training for rescuing a friend, which might not be a friend, it might be a stranger. But how do I insert myself? How do I control their mindset so I pull them away from this person mentally and verbally, not physically, right? How do I do that, right? Again, now we're crossing over into bodyguard training, right? How do I do that so this person can beat feet and get the hell out of there, right? And now I can do the rest of this, okay? So sometimes it's choice, but part of this requires that I already have I don't know if you call it planning, right? I have established in my head the conditions by which I will act, I will escape, or I will put myself in a safe place and be a good witness for later. Okay? There's certain conditions, right? Certain number of attackers, armed, unarmed, environments, those kind of things, right? I have to have those things established ahead of time. Otherwise, the adrenal response kicks in. Your fine motor skills diminish. All you have is gross motor functions and mental processes. So you're not going to be thinking clearly, right? And anybody that's ever been there and been there a lot knows that once the state changes, right, what people think of as being logical, having conversations like this or sitting around a table or whatever, right, is often 180 degrees away from that because there's a whole different area functioning, right? Anyway, escaping to safety. If I can't, right, then what I'm going to try to do is use some distractions, right? I could toss my friggin' drink, right? I don't care if it's Coke, beer, whatever, right? I'm going to toss it, let the glass break, get him to look somewhere else, and then I can shift in a different direction, right? Or I could feign a heart attack, right? I could, as I'm backing up, stumble, right? And stagger or start talking like I'm retarded, whatever. Pick whatever words you want, right? Because I know no matter what I use, what word I use, somebody's going to go, oh, that's offensive too. Probably not, because if they're that way, they don't process things the same way that you do. So you're offended and they're not. Okay? People, if they could just use the friggin' brain that's in their head, most of this bullshit would go away. Anyway. So I want to distract, right? What I want to do is get their head away from, right? Punch you in the freaking mouth. Yeah, probably bleed and fall down. How about if you just take $5 and buy yourself a beer, man? I don't want any trouble. Okay? You're going to give somebody $5? Yeah. Is my life worth more than $5? Yeah. Okay. People end up with some dumbass reasons for fighting. And then they wonder why the law's looking at them. Nobody that they want to hang out with will want to hang out with them or whatever, right? Because they think like a 6-year-old, right? Anyway, right? So distracting. Maybe the distraction didn't work, right? So now I've got that final line before he moves in, right? So I can take up come on, right? Whatever, the way I look at him, the way I position my body, what I say, right? I know what you're up to if you come in here, right? I could verbalize the feelings we're supposed to have in certain kamai, right? If I take up Ichimonji no kamai or Bobi no kamai from Koto school or whatever, right? I could say what the feeling is supposed to be, right? If you cross this line, if you touch me, I'm going to break it. If you cross this line, I'm going to kill you. Did you just threaten me? Yeah. But the threat's already been, right? Why did I threaten you? I'm hoping that you'll stop. I'm hoping that you care more about your physical well-being than you care about mine. And if that's not true, well, right. Anyway, so, and if this doesn't work, if that dissuasion doesn't work and they come in, right? So I keep making the circles bigger, right? I'm going to have to physically defend myself, okay? But what I'm hoping for in each of these things is to use the proper tactics so I don't get down there, okay? So I don't get down there. So I don't get down there. Everybody wants to jump to this. Phase 6 is what, right? This is distraction, dissuasion, not PTSD, physical self-defense, right? This is the phase where I don't care how good you are. If you're just getting sick or recovering from the flu or COVID or whatever, right? Or you went out for your birthday last night. Today you're a little, don't speak so loudly, or whatever, right? Your responses are a little bit slower, or you freaking tripped over something, or they had an alias you didn't know, or an ally you didn't know about. This is the realm that no sane person wants to get to that's ever been in real situations. And I don't mean high school shoving, punch, kick, and then your friends drag you off. And I'm not talking about that kind of crap, right? I'm talking about really bad things where you are going to be either maimed or dead. If you've ever been there, that's why warriors get involved in art and poetry and all those kind of things, right? Because they've got to balance this stuff out. But at the same time, they're also the ones that are telling you, look, maybe we need to talk. Okay? It's always the young ones that have no friggin' experience, that just have a big old friggin' ego and a big old mouth. They just want to jump to things. And you know what we as warriors do? You know why what the generals do with them? They put them out front. Okay? You get to thin the herds, and then hopefully there's less for us to have to deal with when we get there. Okay? You want to be big and bad and bold and kill a kami for mommy or whatever the hell you want to call it. That's what they used to say back in the 80s when I was in the military, right? And then these were the guys that were pissing, moaning, and crying when we actually got deployed somewhere. Anyway, right? So I got to hold my own, okay? And no matter what happens here, no matter what, right? There is no not going that way. If we hit here, this right here is a tipping point. If I have to physically defend myself, everything else after that is a cascading, it's like an avalanche, right? If I have to do this, I will, in some form, have to deal with PTSD. Okay? I don't care if it's that like shaking and I can't think straight afterwards, which may affect how I describe things to police officers or the DA or whatever. And now that may come across the wrong way and I find myself in jail when I was justified in self-defense. Whatever, to that, to how I deal with my family, to whether or not I can go back to work and function properly, or whatever, right? There's this whole thing, right? This kind of thing has destroyed people, right? There is no honor in getting to this. Now, did we train for this? Yeah, right? But this honor bullshit, that's a to die gloriously for it. Okay, you want to be a Klingon, you go be a Klingon, whatever, right? But anyway, right? PTSD, and in some form, I will have to deal with legal issues. Okay? I'll have to, right? The goal with this, with each of these, right? One is to make sure that my training is clear and right. And I'm prepared for the things that I'm probably going to have to handle, or at least develop skill sets that fill a toolbox. So when a situation pops up, I have options so that I can be right and appropriate for this given moment. Not just one style, not just one preference, not just, well, that's my favorite move. Nobody gives a shit, okay? If I know that it's your favorite move, do you think I'm going to attack you so you can use your favorite move? Okay? That's no different than anybody else in your life attacking you who knows you. It's just going to be some stranger just materializing out of thin air, doesn't know you, has never had any experience, nothing like that, right? Okay? Never forget, when a situation pops up, you're going to know one thing. You're going to know how you feel and what skill sets you're good at. So you're going to know your own condition. That's it. You're not going to know anything about this person. You're not going to know what the way the preferred fighting method or attack method, how much experience they have at damaging other human beings, how far they're willing to go, whether or not they're going to stop short of really damaging you, or they're not going back to jail. So you can't stay alive. You don't know any of that stuff, right? This has to be a part of your training. Okay, that's why we do Kamae a lot. We're going to be doing this stuff on Friday. I'll talk about that again. But anyway, why we do that first and we do evasion, that's why in the kata, right, there's an avoidance and an avoid, right? There's multiple evasions before you do your thing, right? You're not just doing moves. On one side, you're recognizing that this guy's attacking you and you may not have been ready, so you might have to do a couple, right, to get your head in the game and realize where his targets or weaknesses are and then take advantage of it. But another one is, I'm doing all this evasion because I want him to tell me a story. Tell me what your fight style is. Show me how you punch. Show me how you grab. Show me how you kick, right? I'm just going to get out of the way so you can't do it to me, but I want to watch what you're up to. Now I can reach into my toolbox and pull out the perfect techniques and skills to handle your type of attacker. But most people don't think that way. They stop at freaking moves because this is all that matters. Oops, sorry. Turn this way. That's all that matters. Okay? It's a freaking trophy. Ask any 50-year-old football players who were football stars in high school what that trophy means. It means they were king shit in high school. Nothing else. It's just a memory. This just means that you know your shit in the dojo and you can pass a test. That's all it means. Okay? If you think it means anything other than that, can't help you. Anyway, so remember what I was talking about a couple of videos ago? We looked at the 5 Ds from a perspective. I think the first one we did was from the perspective of a grabbing attack, right? So there's this 5-phase thing, right? Kamae, neutralize the force of his attack, unbalance him, deliver your technique, lock him up, restrain him, or bail out, right? That kind of thing, right? That formula, that framework goes in here. Every one of these has a framework. Every one of these has things that you need to learn and you need to be good at if you're going to run the whole gamut. If not, if this is all that matters, I wish you well. Okay? Can I teach you those? Of course, right? But I'm also teaching all this other stuff. Whether you want to listen or not is on you. Okay? Anyway, all right. So hopefully this is going to work. Again, this is one of those big, blimp or hot air balloon over the stadium kind of thing, right? So so you understand the strategy and the big picture kind of thing, right? If you've been following these things, you know that this also ties into a Friday thing. Let me bring up an overlay thing here. Bum, 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 bum. That's what happens when I'm my own tech guy. Is this the right one? Nope. That's for Kudan. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So this little, where is it? There you go. This little URL at the bottom here, right? This little page we have set up. So Fridays, let me get the hair where this thing's not in my head, right? So on Fridays, Tuesdays and Fridays, actually, we have these special classes at the school. I have this program called the Shinobi Kai in my dojo, which is what most people think of when they think of like all-on ninjutsu training, right? But I also have ones for people with maybe lesser goals or whatever, right? They're still learning all this stuff. Everybody has to learn this, right? But Tuesday, Friday, I'm offering Friday things to folks that are tuned into this, right? So this Friday, we're going to do a deep dive into taking a look at the second level transmission of use of Kamae, right? So one, we need to get people out of their head thinking about kamae from the perspective of it being a stance. Stance in Japanese is dachi. Posturing, attitude, internal feeling, body reflecting what's going on the inside, head and heart, that kind of thing, right? Kamae, right? They're named for different things, okay? I'll talk about that in a different program, right? But the way most people train from a static position, like I talked about at the very beginning, if you didn't pick up on that, wait until the recording is ready and go back and take and listen to that first part, right? But everybody trains from like this static start kind of thing, and then when they spar or they do whatever, then everything just kind of falls apart. It doesn't look like what you've been learning, okay? But anyway, so we want to look at the next transition. So we're going to do this deep dive and take a look at how kamae grows, right? It grows out of this stuff until you get to right here. So that what your techniques have been showing and what you've trained in a static way is ready right here. But just like this shows, where there's lots, when it comes to the self-defense paradigm, there's a lot that goes on and should go on to keep me from getting to 6. Moving into kamae is actually a part of the dissuasion. Okay, it's the bridge between dissuasion, talking him out of it, and having to deal with shit. Okay, so we want to take a look at how kamae grows naturally based on what he's doing as he's moving in. So we don't just, somebody's moving in on us and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, we go. If I knew somebody did that, and I don't care what martial art they're in, right? They just pop into their stance. Even if I did want to get them, I would stop, look at them, and look at everybody else and go, this guy's crazy. Somebody needs to call the cops. This guy's crazy right there. And then follow you while you're trying to get away from me, right? Because if you're really the fighter or you really don't understand this stuff, you're going to start saying things and doing things and threatening me to fight and all kinds of things that's going to send you to jail. People don't think enough about attacker mentality. Okay. So anyway, 8 phases. If you want to do, we're going to get into this thing on Friday, right? I don't do free webinars anymore when it comes to bigger training. I'm doing stuff like this, right? But when it comes to actual training kind of things, I don't do those webinars or anything like that anymore. Big free things, because nobody shows up, right? No, nobody shows up. And if they do, then they come and go, because you know what? Anything priced at free equals no value, and people don't take it seriously. Okay. So, and while I do believe that my students that pay me the most stick around the longest, complain the least, focus more, and get their shit done, right? I'm going to make this easy for people to get in on. So, for a 60, 75 minutes, sometimes I can go to 90, right? These lessons, right? You can do it virtually. You don't even have to leave your own home, right? It's $4.99, right? You can go there, you can sign up for it. We'll send you login stuff. We do it through Zoom and all that, but you can train like you're in the dojo. And even if you have a training partner, right, you can work it out with them. And if you don't, just kind of shadow box it, right? Take a bunch of notes. You'll have lifetime access to the recording and go from there. If not, no harm, no foul, right? I'm here for you if you're here for you. I can't want this more for you than you do. All right, that's it. So hopefully this helped. Right. Hopefully I'll see you on Friday for the deep dive. And if not, again, no harm, no foul. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Right. So when these things pop up, right, you'll get notifications about them and all that kind of stuff, or anything else new that I put out. If you're on Facebook, whatever page you're on, make sure you like it so that the Facebook algorithm lets you know of things and you're not just jumping around. But if you're the person that jumps around through 50 different ninjutsu instructors anyway, because you're just trying to stay in the loop, right? We call that fanhood, right? If that's the thing, then great. And I get learning from as many different instructors as possible, right? But at some point, you're going to need a curriculum. You're going to need a structure so that you always know where you are as you're moving through the process. Otherwise, it's like just taking dice and throwing them and hoping for the best. Anyway, talking enough. We've already gone what on this thing? There was a time thing on here. Where the hell is it? Holy crap! I just gave you an hour class. All right. Anyway, hope it helped. If it didn't, sorry. You probably shouldn't have stuck around this long. If it did, great. if you have the availability or the ability to leave comments for me or anything like that, that'd be awesome too. If you have any topic requests, right, instead of me just making all this stuff up, certain things about certain techniques or whatever. Now, I've got things planned out all the way through, I think, the end of March, right? But, right, who knows? Could always throw an extra one on or whatever, all right? So hopefully I'll see you next week on Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. And if not, good luck with your training. I'll talk to you again soon.